In our country, recycling problems has gone a bit worrying, where rivers and even some landfills are littered with trashes and garbages everywhere. So by recycling, you will be protecting the environment, and in return, you will protect your health as well. Why? Because recycling reduces the amount of waste that must be disposed, which means that less waste or garbage to incinerate and to landfill. And recycling prevents or reduces air and water pollution. Recycling also conserves water and precious natural resources because since less raw materials are used in the process and they needed less to be extracted or processed. Recycling also saves energy. For example, in 2019, the EPA or the Environmental Protection Act reported the energy savings from recycling and composting almost 87 million tons of municipal solid waste. That is in the USA alone. Now, recycling makes us more sustainable. It also saves energy and it reduces greenhouse gas emission and whatnot. There's so much more benefits that I couldn't talk about. But in but in our country, recycling is quite a bit despised by the people. Now, by criminalizing the person or individuals who act that are caught not recycling the waste that they produce, means that we are gonna give them a direct sanctions or punishments to the actual perpetrators or the person who did it. Now, by the term punishment means that we are giving them fines or a large or we are asking them money as much as relative to how severe of the case of the person who did it. Obviously, there are 2 points of mechanism that I will talk about. First, individuals or organization who got caught for not recycling will be fined as much as 100,000 rupiah or 2 million rupiah relative to the how severe the case is. And two, there will be guards along the waste disposal area or common places where people usually litters. Now, first argument. In some places and some cases that I believe some of you might already know, such as the Germany or Japan, the Okinawa prefectures or Kamayaki prefectures, in these places, recycling is the law and you have to do it. Why? Well, because recycling does have direct impact on reducing the environmental harm rather than sending the actual garbage to disposal facility which actually needs more act to do and costs more. Now, along those same lines, landfills, which is the ultimate book holder of our trash, might have been might have a material bans in these places to encourage recycling rather than aid it being the law. Now, recycling is not free, obviously, because you still have containers, trucks, people, and fuels that you have that involved. But it does tend to cost less rather than disposal because you are creating a product with value. For example, when you sold the aluminum cans back to the manufacturers and they were recycled back to produce more aluminum cans. Typically, in a landfill, the only revenue generation potential is for gas to empower the on-site electrical generators, which might or it might not add the revenue because you have no real incentive disposal, which makes it becomes much more expensive. Now, having the ability to find people for not following the rules is one way to change their behavior. Most people will only be impacted by the fine once or twice, and then they will change how they do things to avoid it. And if a hauler gets fined, they pass the cost on to the customer, who will ultimately in a position to figure out how to not get a fine again. For example, this is called behavior change, which is why we want it. Fines are only one part of the arsenal for good waste management because, again, recycling costs less and setting up a program that focuses on creating a value from the materials will ultimately cost us less than just rather than sending those material to a disposal facility. Now, another reason for fines lies in the fact that these municipal run solid waste programs operate for the overall community. An easy way to make sure that the benefits of community recycling are maximized for the greater amount of people, because just because you pay tax to the government doesn't mean that the government only just work for you, right? Now this is a system of fines which again causes a behavior change. Fines should be toward the bottom of the list action to take, that we believe, but as a tool we believe that they are definitely viable and should be enforced if they are able to charge where they need to be. Now moving on to the second argument. This has been done a fair bit in the UK, for example, via something called fixed penalty notices under the amendments to the Environmental Protection Act in 1990. The amendments enabled many authorities in the UK to fine people for I forgot the exact wording, not presenting the waste in the specified manner, which is for the disposal facility. The strategy employed by the councils was to reduce the size of the residual wheeled back in, increase capacity for the recyclers, and reduce the frequency of collections. Fines, or more usually the threats of fines, were levied at residents that couldn't fit 2 weeks of waste in their smaller wheeler back in, or in their wheelbarrow, or in their bins on their house. But no fines were issued for people who were separated out recyclers into the other vastly large recycling bin. Now this forced people to make a choice whether they should comply to the law so that they will not get fined and they will recycle, or they will take their waste to the disposal facility and they will be fined, which eventually costs us more rather than recycling the wastes themselves. Now, in summary, in the effort of suppressing this problem, we believe that a change in a behavior of people who doesn't recycle could kickstart this recycling movement. And that's why we believe that individuals or organizations who doesn't recycle their wastes should be called for a finable crime, and they will be penalized by giving a sum of money relative to how severe the case or problem they cause. That's why we are proud to oppose this.